Kelly from Brain Flower, where I talk about coping with the crazy curveballs that life gives us after the age of 55. And today I'm taking on the idea that starting fresh or restarting your life after a certain age is a big challenge, or worse yet, impossible. Now, let's face it, no matter what age we are right now, this is likely to be the healthiest, most vital, most energetic version of ourselves from this point on. So why not now? This is our time. So let's talk about taking those first steps forward and getting the lives we really want and quite frankly, we really deserve. Starting fresh at our age can sound daunting. To some people, it might even sound a little bit cray-cray. But let's step back and think about it for a moment. This isn't about becoming somebody else. This is about becoming the best version of ourselves. We aren't trying to be anyone else. We're asking ourselves the question, from this point on, what is the most fulfilling life we could possibly lead? I used to ask myself this question. What stories do I want to be telling while I'm rocking away on the porch of Shady Pines Nursing Home? Those stories, if they haven't been written yet, I'm writing them now. For me, I started really grappling this during my first summer of COVID lockdown, where I had turned 60. And believe me, that wasn't the way that I wanted to spend my 60th birthday. I just come out of a couple of whirlwind years. I had open heart surgery. I had knee surgery. I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, then back again from the West Coast to the East Coast. I had an iffy romance going on at that time, and I wasn't working full-time either. And then here comes COVID. You know, I could have just curled up and made that my story, but I didn't. I kept thinking about that rocking chair and the stories that I wanted to tell. I decided I had to give myself permission to go and be the person I wanted to be and live the life I wanted to be living. And if that resonates with you, hang in, because I have a couple of considerations that I work through that might be helpful to you. Our first consideration, we have to think about, what does starting over even look like? Now, for me, personally, I had a feeling that I wanted to start over, that I wanted to turn the page, you know, a milestone birthday and all. But that was just a feeling, and I didn't know what that would actually look like. What did it mean? And I realized that in the beginning, at least, I was going to have to be okay with not knowing everything. That what I needed to do was really to start small, to take some, baby steps forward. This isn't about becoming somebody else, right? Let's remember that. Let's also remember that we're starting. We're starting. We're not through the journey. We're not finished with the journey. We're starting. So we have to give ourselves a little grace there. Now, again, what could that look like for you? Well, here's a few things that people do when they feel like they want to turn the page. One, people really consider moving. People really want to take themselves out of their physical location and put themselves someplace else. A lot of retired people do that. A lot of retired people don't do that, and moving may not be your thing. Maybe you are considering a career shift, whether that is moving from working full-time to part-time or retiring. Maybe it means for you, you want to do something completely different. I did that. And you might also be forced into this restart because you lost a job and you're dealing with all of the emotions and financial considerations and anxiety that comes with that. So if moving's not your thing, maybe it's a career change. Maybe you are considering an adventure, the trip of a lifetime, or doing something you have never done before. Boy, that's exciting. Maybe you're even considering re-looking at your romantic life. You might be getting over a broken relationship or a divorce, or maybe you just haven't been out there for a long time and you're tired of waiting. That's also very exciting. Then the last way a lot of people restart, and one I am here to support wholeheartedly, is being more aggressive with your health and well-being. And that could be your mental health, that could be your physical health. This is the time now to invest in ourselves. We worry so much about money when we're older, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, God knows we should, but we also want to make sure that the body that we take into those later years is as good as we can make it. So restarting there is a good option as well. Do any of these potentially resonate with you? Do any of them feel comfortable for something you've been maybe feeling but not actually envisioning yet? Just remember, this is our version of what's new in our lives. It could be as bold as we want to make it, or not quite so bold, but different. The second consideration is probably the most critical, and that is, how do you break free from your limiting beliefs? I know just by mentioning those potential fresh starts, you started getting a little anxious. I know. There's hesitation. There's hesitation for most of us when it comes to thinking these big ideas. But it's important to remember that we're just not moving forward, right? We are also eliminating those things that have held us back. So a couple of things. Have you been asking yourself this or saying this to yourself? You know what? I am just too old for this. Maybe other people in your life have said something along the lines of, you know what? You should just be grateful for what you have. If I had a nickel, if I had a penny for every time I heard that, I would be a very wealthy woman. Or maybe you've honestly said to yourself, oh, that sounds great for other people, but not for me. Not for me. Let me tell you, none of those three limiting beliefs are true. Zip, they are not. They are filled with hot air. But at the same time, they're very heavy and they weigh us down. So for us to move on, we have to start really challenging those limitations that we put on ourselves and get rid of them. Not easy, okay? I know it's not easy, but they are standing in the way between what you are right now and everything you want. I have a yellow Post-it note on my refrigerator, and it reads, "Fear is a liar." And I believe that wholeheartedly. So ask yourself, you know what? Don't ask yourself. Write it down. Write down what is the limiting belief that you are carrying around that is chaining you to not living the life that you want to live. Write it down, read it, acknowledge it, then just tear it up. Tear it up and throw it away. You have to. You have to. Okay, our next consideration is, how do I get started? What are my first steps? So I propose to you that these are small steps. Something outside our comfort zone for sure, but get us ready, get us in the groove. We are not achieving everything on day one. We're probably not achieving everything on day 100 either, but we have to work our way up to it. So let me throw out a few examples. Let's say you're interested in moving. You may have in your mind an idea of where you want to be. I always like to think about how I want to live my life and then figure out where I want to do it. But maybe you want to move near a certain place, friends, or you want to be near a lake that you love. Make your very first step collecting information. I love to use Pinterest for that. I don't know if you use Pinterest, but you can put pictures and articles that you read about, ideas, and stick them in a folder on your computer. You could create a mood board. Some people love to do that. But this phase, this initial phase, is a combo of getting informed and getting excited. Now, let's say you're dealing with that career issue and you're trying to turn the page and have a fresh start in your career. I know you're going to go right to your resume, but before you do that, even start imagining how you want to live your life and what career will support you in it and what your boundaries are and your fundamentals. I had a great job offer, really like a job offer of a lifetime, but the commute was so terrible, 2 hours each way on a good day, that I had to turn it down. That was my line in the sand. What is your line in the sand is one consideration you have to start asking yourself. But also you need to start imagining what it is. If you want a job pivot, do you need to take an online class? Maybe you know somebody in the career that you are interested in. Can you send them an email or a text message if they're friendly with you? Start looking on LinkedIn at jobs that seem similar to what you want. They may give you inspiration to refresh your LinkedIn profile. These are all small steps that, are done without major commitment, and they're going to change the path you're on in subtle ways. Believe me, I have changed careers at least twice, 3 times, I think. And that's the way to do it. The way to do it is by just reorienting yourself in a new direction. Is your fresh start going to be prioritizing your health? Maybe it's been a while since you've seen your physician and you should schedule a physical. Maybe you can squeeze in an extra walk a couple of times a week. Every day is great, but I don't even do it every day. Or maybe it's just as simple as trying out a new recipe. Now, for those 2 exciting things, right? Thinking about a romantic change, you have to really start asking yourself what you want, you first, before you start looking for the other person. And for adventure, I think it's time you figured out, how can I get started on my great adventure closer to home? You want to take a cooking class in Italy, or you want to hike some crazy mountain, or maybe you just want to drive across country, which I highly recommend everyone do at least once in their life. Maybe you could start out with some small things like a new cooking class at the Y in town, or going for a long local hike, or maybe just taking a short weekend trip. Again, subtle switches in your energy levels, subtle switches in your point of view, bring that big adventure into reach. It just does. What I had to learn, and maybe you too, is that the key is action, like actually doing something, getting my butt off the sofa, getting myself into the kitchen to prepare something new. Whatever it is, remember, small steps build momentum, and momentum is how we make our dreams come true. Our last consideration is to remember the power that there is in starting something anew. When I decided to make some big changes in my life, I realized that I wasn't becoming somebody else. I was becoming the best version of me. And that's what it's all about, really. What you want for yourself, and how you imagine yourself, and what stories you want to be telling in your rocking chair when you're at that stage of the game. We aren't erasing the past at all. We are owning and designing our own futures. How exciting is that? And if you're starting to think about what it could be to start afresh, even if it's a little bit, whether you're talking about work or romance or adventure or travel or moving, I'd love to hear about it, honestly. Whether you did it, you didn't do it, and why, or you're just starting to think about it, please put that in the comments below. I love reading them. I hope you enjoyed this. I have several videos here at Brainflower. A couple of them are right up there. And may I ask you, if you did enjoy it, not just to comment, but to subscribe. We are a really new channel here, and we are looking to find our tribe. I hope you do decide to invest in yourself and trust yourself and grow and honestly have a wonderful life. Go pick yourself some brain flowers.